Yeah, very good. Thanks for having me. What am I doing here? How did it happen? So, prior to joining online marketing 20 years ago, I went into software development. So, I built my first website in 1998. So, I'm dating myself here. And I enjoyed that experience. And then I got into kind of coding and back end and front end and all that kind of stuff. In 2003, no, 2005, a job came up and it said website project manager. So I applied for it thinking, I know a bit of project management, I know a bit about websites, let's see what happens. And the long and short is the website project manager was managing a content management system, CMS, managing landing pages, managing on-site SEO, search engine optimization, and analytics. So that was my first kind of entry point into the world of online marketing, really kind of getting deep into it. And then everything just, blew up from there. 2005. So I had knowledge of internet marketing, but I'd never been involved in it. So back then, and by the way, the company I joined, this is an interesting little story. It was a hotel company. So they were trying to sell hotel breaks online, but it was an over 55 market. And back then, it was so difficult to convince this over 55 market that it's safer to book online than it is to call up the call center and give your credit card details to a human on the other side of the call. From my perspective, that felt riskier. Like someone could just write down the card details, right? So for us, we were going against the tide at the time, and it was an interesting exploration into the world of online marketing. Yeah, so that started, consulting started around 20, I'm trying to think now, 2013, 2014, give or take. And it was an unfortunate turn of fortunate events that led me there. So 2009, I was made redundant from that role in that hotel company. The world was under recession and all those, yeah, all the crazy stuff was going on in the world. So like half the team were let go. Um, and it was through that I kind of decided I don't like this experience of relying on an employer and, doing really well. We'd grown their revenues massively, but then like just like that, your job's gone. And that felt so uncomfortable. So I started to do some freelancing, some contracting work, and I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed the fact that I could do 3 months here, 6 months here, pick up this experience, work with this company, go somewhere else. And then eventually, as I started to learn about Facebook ads, I started to go deeper into that world as well. 100%. Yeah, because that was my starting point. So some people come into it from, hey, I've done Google ads and now I'm learning Facebook. Some people are offline advertisers and they go online. For me, my starting point was conversion rate optimization. So that's at the heart of everything I've done, whether it's been Facebook ads or Google ads. I've run TV ads, I've done print advertising. Everything for me has run off of conversion rate optimization and learning from the likes of Claude C. Hopkins. Like I think his book was one of the first I read on scientific advertising, written like 100 years ago or whenever it was. But the principles are still sound today. It doesn't matter how you're selling; the principles are still there on split testing, on human behavior and psychology. Even back then, he was doing split testing using coupons. So he'd push one print ad with one coupon, another print ad with another coupon, and ask the stores to tally up which coupon worked best. So 100 years ago, they were thinking about this kind of concept. For us, it's now easier to do split testing, but the principles are still the same. Scientific advertising, absolutely. Well, that came in 2009. When I lost my job, I couldn't find one for 3 months because all of a sudden, half of the UK was in redundancy. So every job I'd go for, first of all, there's like over 100 applicants. And secondly, everyone's having to drop their salary expectations because they're just desperate for a job. And that's what led me to how can I make money online? So everyone's got their own story of how they did that first search. And that led me to affiliate marketing. So I knew SEO, I was learning WordPress, and I put the two together and made money through SEO and kind of using the blog format of WordPress to generate traffic. And I actually grew that. We hit 1 million in sales for our affiliate partners by 2012. And at that point, I was ready to ditch my contracting work and go full time into affiliate marketing. But also in 2012, Google changed the rules and I didn't realize what was going on. So there was an update called Penguin, another one called Panda. They changed the algorithms and we went from tens of thousands of visits every month to zero. It was like a flat line. So if you imagine, the beats, we were dead. And I didn't know what to do because all of a sudden I was relying on all this free traffic because I knew how to work the SEO system and I had nothing. So we had generated good money from affiliate marketing, but now I had no business. And that's what led me into Facebook advertising because I needed another platform. So it's like, how can we get traffic? I tried Google ads, but it was too expensive for me to bid on the keywords I needed to. We fell into Facebook. I didn't make any money, but I found a new platform and I went deeper into it as well. Yeah, that was 2014. So 2012 to 2014, I wasted a lot of my own money and I didn't make any money on Facebook. So 2014, a guy reached out on LinkedIn. He said, "Hey, I've seen your background. We need some help with CRO, some traffic stuff. We sell a children's book. We can sell it through our affiliates. Affiliates are selling it really well. But we'd love to see what you could do for us." And I remember at the time I was in between contracts and he made an offer of something like I think it was like 150 pounds a day or something really low. And I looked at that and I thought, I can get 3 to 4 times that just based on my experience. But at the same time, there's something about this where I thought there's an opportunity to learn as well. So I said, look, I'll help you out for a few weeks. And when I met the team and I got deeper into it, I really, really enjoyed it. So I worked with them for about 4 to 6 weeks initially. In that time, I did get a full time job offer somewhere else. But in that time, I saw that they had something working on Facebook. And what I mean by that is they'd spend 1,000 and maybe make 800 back. Maybe they'd spend 2,000 and make 1,500 back. So they were making sales more than I was doing before. And my start point was actually I didn't touch the ads so much. I did work on conversion rates. So landing page and funnel and cart and things like that. And I started to see an improvement. Then I thought, right, what's actually working on Facebook? So I started to look at campaigns and setups and stuff. It was a bit of a mess. And I think it was May of that year, we managed to spend 1,000 and make 5,000 back. And that was like a mind blowing thing for me at the time, for them as well, just to prove that you could get $5 back or £5 back for every pound you put in. And then, you just took off from there. Absolutely, absolutely. And very quickly, I think the next month we went and spent 10K and made 50K back. So it was we'd proven we could make money and then we proved we could actually scale it. And those two things just, helped us to take it to those crazy numbers 18 months later. Children's personalized book. It retailed for £20, so about $26 at the time, and it was a very hard proposition to get across because you had to key in your child's name, let's say John or Jonathan or whatever it is. Then the book would be customized based on the letters of their name, so the story is different for everyone. But at the same time, it was an amazing experience for a child, and we had to get that proposition across in the small ad on Facebook and get that whole process across on the landing page. So it wasn't an easy thing to explain, but the breakthrough for us was actually when we managed to increase our average order values because we talked more about gifting. Now, one of the things I talk to ecom store sellers all the time is speak to your customers and find out what where that product is placed in their life. So, for example, we did some outreach to our customers. We had our customer service people go out and call up our customers and say, what made you buy this book? What other things were you considering? What ultimately made you choose this? So those kind of questions. And more often than not, people were gifting the book to other children. So it's parents, we were targeting parents, but they weren't necessarily buying it for their kids. They just saw it as a great gift idea for another kid, for a birthday party, for Christmas, for whatever it was. And then we realized we were talking to parents about their kids, but we weren't talking to gifters. Now, all of a sudden, when you talk about the gifting market, it's parents, but it's grandparents, it's uncles, it's aunts. It's like all of a sudden there's a whole massive new demographic that we didn't even think about. And that helped us to tap into a whole new level of growth for the business as well. And the funny thing is, when I started looking at their ads, like the very first, and this is in the book I'm writing on kind of how I learned how Facebook works. When I looked at their winning ad, it was written in a style that I felt was very amateur. And it was like, so the company's name was Lost My Name. So the text was something like, hey, we lost my name. We've created a new book. We think it'd be cool for you to have a look. And it just felt very tame. It wasn't, because I come into this as a CRO, conversion rate optimized based copywriter. So for me, I'm thinking about every word matters and structure it psychologically and all that kind of stuff. So when I tried to compete with that ad, it wouldn't work, and I couldn't figure it out until I realized that ad felt so natural in the newsfeed for Facebook. Because when I was writing ad copy, it felt like sales copy. Whereas the way this customer service person actually wrote this, she wrote it in a style that you'd write to your friend, and that's how Facebook works. And then I started to flow with that, and I realized where I was going wrong and where I needed to act a bit more friendlier, like I'm writing to a friend and things like that, and that made a huge difference. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so that yeah, so 20 absolutely. And in 2014, we ended at $8 million. So for us, it was just phenomenal that in 2013, the company made 800,000, and we 10x that in the period of 12 months. And I'd only been working with them since April, May of that year. So that scaling was phenomenal. Now, at that time, I think we were spending maybe give or take 4 or 5K a day on ad spend. And I thought like I was one of the biggest ad spenders out there. Like it felt a wild number. Now, coming into 2015, we then started to translate the books into German, into French, into Spanish. So we're now tapping into non-English speaking markets, and we needed to expand our team. So it was around March, April of 2015. I was hiring for media buyers to join my team. One media buyer. So at that point, we were spending 10K a day. So there's me thinking I'm a high flyer. Like I can't imagine you can spend more than 10K a day on Facebook ads. I interviewed a guy from a company called King. King are a gaming company that own games such as Candy Crush, which a lot of people know. And as he was talking about, so I was interviewing him and he was saying, and I said, what's your experience with ad spend? How much ad spend have you managed? He goes, well, the team we're part of, we spend about 500,000 a day on on Facebook ads. And I had to just stop and ask him, 500,000 a day on Facebook ads. And he goes, give or take, it's up or down based on performance. And I'm like, I just couldn't get my head around it. Like, here's me at 10,000 a day thinking I've capped Facebook. Like, I can't imagine spending more than that. This guy comes into an interview and just blows me out the water. And that was on my mind. Like, I couldn't get my head around this thing. So from the period of May to September or October, because Q4 being our biggest selling period as it is for many e-commerce stores, it was just stuck in my head. How do I get more than 10K of ad spend a day? We did manage to scale it, and we got it to 20K to 30K to 50K. And it was a scary time, because if you imagine spending even $50 a day, spending $500 a day, whatever it is, every change you make, positive or negative, has an impact. So you might gain an extra $50 of revenue or lose $50. That gets amplified because now you're spending 50,000 a day. A change, good or bad, could cost you 5 or 10K in revenue a day. and that's a big scary thing for me as as a marketer, that I'm responsible for that for the company. And it was, you start to maybe think about things differently, and it occupied my mind 24/7. Now, going into October of that year, we did continue scaling. And I think in November, we hit about 250,000 in a day on Facebook ads. And we were running maybe five or six different ad accounts. I had four or five media buyers helping me. We were, I think at that time, we'd done some analysis and we'd sold to almost every country on the earth, every country we could deliver to. It was literally a wild experience. Majority was our top markets were UK, Canada, Germany, and US, the four big markets. But we were literally selling everywhere and anywhere, and it was just at that point I was working 7 days a week, because you cannot manage that kind of budget and take weekends off. Like you just can't. So it was super stressful. It wasn't a fun experience. I don't think we had the proper systems in place because I'd never done that before. And I like, who do you turn to go, hey, I need some advice on how you spend 200? Even Facebook couldn't help me. And I'd ask them and say, can you tap into, what should I be doing? And they're like, well, here's some advice and here's some things and stuff like that. But yeah, it was, looking back, it was a great experience, but it was also really stressful. Absolutely. And when I made that transition into the world of agency, that became amplified because now where I was contracting, for example, for Lost My Name, it was me working for one client and managing their ads and scaling and doing crazy stuff. Then you have two clients, then you have three, then you have 10, then you have 15 clients. Essentially, your responsibility is 80-90% of that business owner's success. Because for us, we were a Facebook ads, well, we are a Facebook ads, primarily a Facebook ads agency. The companies that come to us are also spending 80-90% of their budget on Facebook. So therefore, whether we're spending $100 a day or $10,000 a day, we're taking a huge responsibility for growing that company. And I think that's one of the major stresses for when you are in the client services game, that you're taking on your client's burden as well. Because that store owner, for example, is relying on you to not only look after their cash, it's not my money, it's their money, but to also grow it. So you're like an investment manager, you're like a fund manager. You have to make sure you're making the right decisions on where that money goes, all the things that you do. It is. And by the way, in 2007, I studied the kind of Forex markets because I was doing currency exchange and I was learning how to do trading. And a lot of that went into Facebook in terms of learning how trading works, is very similar to how the auction works. So, for example, in trading, if there's a major update, let's say in a few weeks' time, presidential elections, it has an impact on economies and stuff like that. That plays into the foreign exchange markets. So you have to be able to read the markets and understand what investments to make and when to pull back. Same thing happens with Facebook. So let's say we're entering Q4, we all know the costs go up, competition goes up, but there's more ad inventory because a lot more people are looking to buy. So you have to look at all these signals and decide, how do I spend? Where do I spend? For example, our Q4 strategy starts in August. We start in August with our planning. We start with promotions, audience building, list building, seeding into September and October so that we can have the biggest success in November. So all those kind of things play into those kind of huge spends and huge revenues as well. SM Commerce. Yes, I mean, so the most we've managed in a month is about 2.5 million. So it's about 25 million, give or take, in ad spend a year. I think maybe we peaked at 50 million. Um, the only thing I would say is ads management becomes easier the more you spend. So when we were managing clients, when we first started off, and we were managing clients at $100 a day, $1,000 a day. There's a lot more variance there because you don't have a proven offer. Your funnels are not stable. There's so much work needing to be done on construction. As you start to spend 10,000 a day and 20,000 a day, you've got a proven offer. Your funnels are working. Conversion rate's good. At that stage, you're spending more time on creatives and offers, and therefore it's actually easier to manage. So for the first 12 months of our agency life, we struggled with stability of our own systems. Once we'd built those and built repeatable processes that we can farm off to the teams, that's when we started to find ads management easier and also managed to find out our niche in the market as well, because not every agency is the same. We realized that our strength is working with seven-figure e-com agent businesses and growing them to eight figures. Like that was our niche that right there. And if if prospects came to us and said, "Hey, we've got this idea for an e-com store," we could do it, but we weren't. It wasn't our forte. We didn't enjoy it. It wasn't. There's a lot more stress, and other people can handle that. The ones that are beyond eight, like the beyond 10 million, for example, they need something else. Because if you're at the 10 million mark and you're approaching an agency, usually you've got an agency you're looking to replace or a team that needs help. We actually built different services for them. We built consulting services where we would bring in the power of the agency, but we would support an in-house team. So we started to learn how the e-com growth model looked and where our place was, and started to offer different services based on that as well. Yeah, so like for example, so a lot of the e-com store founders that were hitting seven figures, these were people that were learning Facebook ads, doing it themselves, had taken a course, maybe mine or someone else's, and they had success, but they didn't know how or why. So, for example, one of the clients that joined us in 2018, he'd been studying my material for 6, 7 months before. He'd hit $1 million, but he didn't understand why and how it was working. So when I looked at it, or when the team looked at his ad account at the time, it was a complete mess. And all the best practices and stuff, nothing was in play there. So I looked at this and said, well, if he's doing 1 million without doing some of the fundamentals, this is going to be great for us. At the same time, why was he successful? In the same way as Lost My Name, he was writing ad copy that really connected with his prospects. His Shopify store sold the proposition really well. So he did some of the harder parts, which we found other clients were struggling out. For us, the easy part is coming in and fixing your ad account. Like that's bread and butter. Getting a good offer and messaging and template for your product page and things like that, that takes a bit more time. He fixed all of that. So then we came in, and I think by 2021, we'd scaled the business to over 10 million, but the fundamentals were there. And I think we found that we looked at that kind of customer and said, we want more of those. So, e-com founders that have maybe one person helping them, small team, that had grown to high six figures or seven figures, that were ready now to pass the baton on to further grow. Now, for example, with that company, when they got to about 4 or 5 million, by that time, we'd actually help them hire an in-house media buyer, train her up and support her, and she took on all the ads. And very quickly, she was managing 10K a day in ad spend. And although they didn't need us to run the ads, they still needed our brain power on strategy and growth. So our role evolved. So it was less running the ads day to day. It was, here are the next 3 moves to make. We're working with logistics on the orderings for Q4, working on growth strategy, on brand, how to get more traffic sources. So we realized that our own growth as an agency can complement the growth of the client. So it wasn't a case of, this client's going to ditch us in 6 months because they don't need us anymore. It was, okay, if they don't need us anymore, how else can we add value? So for those companies, we consult, we provide strategic growth insights, we do analysis. From our perspective, I've got a community of over 20,000 people. I've got clients. I'm learning from all of those and bringing them to this particular client. So that's valuable for them as well. So we realize there's different parts where we can service. And for those people that had new stores or weren't really up to speed on Facebook, we created standalone courses for them. So the idea was we can help people at every level, and hopefully if they make money, they're ready for the agency, and then we can help them further along down the line as well. Absolutely. 100%. Absolutely. I think it's one of the things that you mentioned early on, where you said, for example, we came in and fixed the conversion rate, the funnel, we worked on AOV, for example. I think people hack Facebook ads too much and they expect too much of Facebook as well. So it's like, should I run 3 campaigns? Should I run campaign budget? Should I do ad set budget? Should I do manual bid? Do I do image versus video? And they're so fixated on the Facebook platform that I would argue 8 or 9 out of 10 prospects that come to us and say, we need help with Facebook ads, Facebook is not the problem. It's your offer, it's your funnel, it's your landing page, it's your proposition, your messaging, your avatar, the things that maybe people don't think about, and certainly Facebook don't help you to think about, are generally the problems. So even talking about avatar, we had a guy come to us. He was selling some kind of keep fit thing. It was like build your abs and all that kind of stuff. And his ad was something along the lines of buy this product, limited stock, get X% off. And that was his thing. And there was just some images and videos. And I said, you're appealing to people that already know what the product is and already know what the solution is. So you think about Eugene Schwartz's stages of awareness. So at the very top, you have people who are not aware of problem or solution or anything like that. They're just in the market. They can be influenced, but it's harder. So, for example, if someone's got it in the back of their mind, I'd like a new TV, they're not looking for it. They haven't researched it or anything like that. So it's going to be, you can tap into that market, but it's going to be harder. Then you've got people who are, my TV's on the blink now. I need to get a new TV. They haven't researched, but they're in that mind frame that I do want to find out more. Then you've got people who have actually actively searched for a TV, but don't really know what one they want. So maybe they have an idea of the size. So I know I want a 42-inch TV. I don't know the difference between LCD and LED and all these kind of things. Then you have the market that are super aware. So they know they want the Sony, they know they want the 42-inch, they want all the digital programming. So they're all the different levels of awareness. And the problem is an ad that talks about a discount and talks about limited stock and doesn't really explain anything else. That's the very bottom of that triangle. So at the very top, you've got lots of people. At the very bottom, you've got a few people. And if you're playing there, you're competing on cost and you're competing with everyone because they're the low hanging fruit. They're the people that are ready to buy, but everyone wants them. So how do you step up? So then when we started to look at who they're targeting and their prospects and stuff, we said, well, okay, we're coming into summer. If people are going on holiday, what do they want? They want to look great on the beach for their partner, for someone else, for whatever it is, for their own confidence. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about beach body. Let's talk about how this product's going to help you get that beach body. And it came with a 90-day trial, for example. Let's talk about you can do this, get the 90-day trial, get the video series. Give them value. Give them a reason to want the product beyond just the price and the fact that there's limited stock. So now all of a sudden you're changing the game and you're playing a different game to what everyone else is trying to do on Facebook, which is you're not selling the product and saying, hey, this is good to build your abs. Why do you want to build those abs? Let's go a step further. And you go deeper into finding out their needs and desires, and you can actually start to convert more people and increase your margin as well. And that was me in 2012. So when I first started with Facebook ads, we've all been there. And I'd already done some Google ads for the company I was at before. So I came into Facebook thinking, if I can get the lowest cost per click and I can get a high click through rate, then I'm going to be doing amazing. And that's all I focused on. So I was really heavy into the Facebook ads platform, trying to get low costs and doing lots of tests and throwing lots of things at ads manager, and nothing worked. I lost thousands and thousands of dollars trying to figure it out until a few years later I realized it's not about me, it's not about the ads platform, it's about the prospect. How do I get deeper into their mind, and how do I convince them that I've got something worthy for them? And that's where I went deeper into the psychology. So think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's another model I use, which is, if you think about the lowest level of Maslow's hierarchy, it's the human basic needs. So sleep, drink, eat, things like that. If you're explaining a product that's related to eating or sleeping or drinking, you don't have to explain why you need to sleep, or why you need to eat, why you need to drink. That's common knowledge for every human on earth. But you do have to explain why your product related to that is different to someone else's. So if I'm selling water, for example, very hard to sell water. However, if you've got a mechanism that you can tap into, now the made up example I use is, imagine there's a water that supports ketosis. So let's say you're on low carb diet, you want to do keto and all that kind of stuff. Let's say there was a water that enhanced your ketosis, so you could work on your physical conditioning and stuff like that. Now all of a sudden I have an edge. So I'm selling water at the end of the day, but now I've got a different edge. If I'm selling something at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they're things where people want to be inspired, they want to inspire others, they want to be creative. Think about selling things around mindfulness. So when someone's selling, let's say, a mindfulness course, or the rock lamps. I think I've got one of those rock lamps up there. I didn't turn it on. I forgot. They're things that people talk about can help you feel better, feel more energetic, feel more positive. You need to explain why that's relevant, because water you need to survive, but why do I need mindfulness? Now, if you talk about entrepreneurs and the stress of running Facebook ads and the stress of running e-commerce, now all of a sudden you can tap into mindfulness. So it's just finding those edges as you're trying to advertise. That makes the biggest difference. Focusing on that. If you did 80% of your time focusing on the psychology, the placement of your product, how it solves a problem, and then just 20% on ads, you'll be hugely successful. Absolutely. So I remember I ran a survey back in 2015, and we selected a group of customers that bought through Facebook. We'd been tracking through Google tracking, and we sent them an email and said, here's a set of ads that we've run on Facebook. You may have clicked through one of them. You may have seen something similar. Can you tell us what made you stop to take note of the ad? And then what made you click the ad? Because what I wanted to find out is, beyond just split testing and seeing what works, what was it about the ad creative itself that kind of resonated? I think like 93, 94% of people said the visual made them stop and take notice. Then the rest of them said it was the copy below the image, so that is the headline image, or the headline text below the image or the video. And then the rest said they just read the copy and then decided they would click. Now, what we kind of gathered from that was, when we come up with our creative testing, number one is, how do we get them to stop in the news feed? So Facebook call this thumb stopping content. You can use all types of techniques. You can use different colors, different ways of standing out. You can use humor. You can use unexpected, creative, things like that. So we spend a lot of time thinking about that, but in context of our avatar. Then we think about the headline, so the headline that appears below, and then we focus on the first few lines of the main body copy. Now, when we do our testing, we test heavily on the creative first and not the copy, because if no one clicks the read more to expand down the short or long copy you've written, then it might as well not exist. So the first step is, and this is our testing process, what creative is going to stand out? How can we do something unexpected? I'll give you an example. We launched an ebook for our business earlier this year. One of the creatives we just launched as a test has a picture of the book and a 1 out of 5 star review with a big quote that says, this book is so grammatically poor. Because it's a funny refund request we got back, which was, the material looks okay, but the grammar's terrible, so I want a refund. And I'm like, we're teaching Facebook ads, and that's irrelevant. If you feel like the grammar's so bad that you don't want to go through the Facebook ads training, That's not on us. And so what I wrote in the ad copy was something, and the copy says something like, I didn't really do well at school because I didn't, English wasn't great, but I am a good copywriter. And I put that in there. I said, somehow my copies help to make $100 million for my clients. And that's what I packed into this ebook. So if you care about grammar, ignore this ad. If grammar's okay, go and buy this book or whatever. So like that creative did really well to get click-through rate and get attention, because now we're using a negative review in a positive way. So it's just thinking about things like that as well. I don't think it was that bad, but I mean, some people are, yeah, different. Absolutely. I think a big part of it is how they're reinvesting in their growth. So at every stage of business, any business, but especially for e-com, I see this a lot as well. You get to a stage where you're now making some money and you have to make decisions on how you're going to grow now. So a lot of the e-com store owners, when they're starting off, they're wearing many hats. Some people focus more heavily on products and fulfillment and things like that. Others will focus a lot more on marketing. Whatever it is, at some point you need to let those hats go, and you need to prioritize those hats as well. So, for example, we had a client that joined us also in 2018. He was wearing a lot of the hats, but the hat he held on to was the ads hat, the marketing hat, because he'd grown his business. It was a ski wear company, and product fulfillment, customer service wasn't his thing. So they're the things that he started to outsource. Took his company to about 2 million a year in revenue, but he held on to the marketing. However, he realized he was a bottleneck because he couldn't grow it any further. They were just plateauing at 2 million a year. For a lot of people, that's great, but he wanted to grow. He wanted to actually step out of the day-to-day running of the business, and he wanted to expand his product line and do more. That's when he approached us. We took on the advertising, and we that was another amazing scaling story where they were on 2 million a year. We hit 16 million in revenue in 5 months. Now, what he brought to us was an amazing product, amazing funnel, and things like that. We did some magic in the Facebook ads account on a product and offer that was doing really well. The extra money that came in, he reinvested it into future growth. He actually built his own internal team, built translated websites, developed a new product portfolio. He kept reinvesting it. So he was a model example of doing things the right thing at the right time and letting go of things and developing and growing. Whereas I see a lot of other people, they're some people come into it scared, like they've never done this ecom thing before, and now they're making 20K a month, now they're making 30K a month. They want to take profits out. They want to go and buy a car now. They want to go on that holiday now, which is fine. Like, I'm not here to say how people should run their life, but if you're serious about business growth, and I went through this myself, you really have to think about where your money's going. For the first 12 months of my agency, I didn't take any income from it. It's not that I didn't need it. It's just that I felt that my business needed it more than me. I needed help. I needed to invest in the growth of the business, and therefore, me taking a salary out would have meant I can't hire another person or two people, or I can't go and do this or do that. They're the decisions I think some business owners struggle with, and a lot of them just don't have the support and advice they need as well. That's so true. Absolutely. And by the way, on that note, sorry, on so on that note, because of that, in 2019, as my business started to grow, I reached out to an old friend of mine who I knew was a business coach, and I said, "Look, this is where I'm at. I feel I need to be held accountable because the problem is, as we started to grow our team in 2019 and 2020, I became the go-to person for every question, every major question in the business, but no one would question whatever I came up with. So it's like, at the end of the day, I don't know if we're doing the right thing. It feels like the right thing, but no one's challenging me. So I felt like I needed someone to do that. And he became my mentor in the business mentor. we'd meet weekly, we'd chat on WhatsApp and stuff like that. He would challenge me, and he'd make sure that I'm thinking about the different angles of my decision. So I'm like, I want to hire this person. It's going to cost 5K a month. We've got the money. We should do it. And he's like, but if you're spending 5K there, don't forget you're going to have to support them, train them. They're reporting to you now. Do you have the time? All right, yeah, I didn't really think about that. I'm quite stretched for time right now. But they're the things that I'd otherwise just go into because I felt like it was the right thing to do. And then actually, another friend of mine recommended I read a book called Rocket Fuel. Highly recommend for any business owner that, like me, is a bit of a maverick in the sense of you get an idea and you just want to do it and needs accountability. So, what Rocket Fuel made me understand was there's the kind of creative leader in the business, and then there's someone who needs to rein that person in and also make things happen. So the way they split the role is there's a visionary. Most business owners are visionaries. They know where they want to go, they have ideas for what they want to do, but they need an integrator. An integrator is generally an operations person. That led to me hiring an ops director for my own business. And she came from a much bigger business doing 25 million a year. That's where I wanted to get to. So she would come into it and hold me accountable, but also support me in getting things done. Because delivery isn't my biggest strength when it comes to big business and stuff. Because I'm so caught up in new ideas. For me, it's fun. Let's launch this new thing. Let's go and do this new thing. She'd hold me accountable and rein me in as well. So, for example, same scenario. If I say, "Hey, we should go and hire this 5K person," or for example, I think there was a project that I wanted to run to develop our own software tool. And she goes, we can do that. The team have the capability. But if they're doing that, they're not doing this. Have you thought about this? Oh, I didn't. So she's now managing and tempering my expectations, still cares about the growth of the business, but is helping the team by me. Because the thing is, if I say, hey, team, we should do this thing, they'll be like, okay, the boss says we should do this thing. So definitely we need to do this thing. It's not always the right thing. So building that accountability is really important. And that's actually what led me to developing my own accountability for agency owners. So now I work with agency owners as their accountability partner in the same way, because I feel like business owners need this kind of thing as well. So when my agency will come in and do coaching and consulting for e-com businesses, I personally do that for agencies as well, so that I can hold them accountable just as I was, so they don't make the same mistakes as well. Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, throughout this whole journey, the biggest thing I found is I love coaching, mentoring, and teaching. I never knew I'd go into this, never even thought about it. Um, I love working with business owners. Selling online and stuff is fine. We have our own e-com store. We're not doing so much with it right now. We run ads on Facebook, and we can acquire customers and do all that kind of stuff. But the thing that brings me the most fulfillment is working with business owners directly. So whether it's e-com or agency owners, because it's a human-to-human relationship, and you're influencing someone's life. You're having an impact on their future goals and where they're heading. And I can bring my learnings into it. First 12 months of agency for me were not great. I didn't do well in terms of my own health, my own mental state, profits. It was all over the place. If I can help someone skip that, then great. Absolutely. Well, that's absolutely, absolutely. Well, that for me it was chocolate. So yeah, I mean, whatever you're doing, there's going to be a net negative on things. Like when you spend so much time on the business and you stop exercising and you eat junk, it's a recipe for disaster. Absolutely. So for me, I'm focusing more on myself and my time right now. So right now, I work 3 to 4 days a week. Fridays, I'm generally offline. I'm doing work with AI. I'm heavily invested in learning AI. We have our own AI media buying assistant. So what I've done with my agency knowledge, training, SOPs, templates, we've fed all of that into the AI. And my goal is that this AI media buying assistant can take the the load off people that want to learn Facebook ads and get Facebook ads results. So I think there's a huge opportunity there, and that's where we're trying to develop the tools for people to get a lower cost of entry into getting great Facebook ad results. Because for every new client we take on in the agency or coaching or anything like that, there's tens of thousands that need the help that can't afford us or don't have the means to access that level of support around the world, and probably hundreds of thousands. And that's who I want to help. Absolutely. Absolutely. So me personally, depeshmandalia.com, more about the business, bpmmethod.com. So brand driven marketing. That's the thing that I developed when I realized that I was a performance marketer. I was all about the numbers, the metrics, the optimizations, the funnels. It wasn't until I understood brand marketing that I started to make successes with Facebook. And that's where the BPM method idea came about, which is how do I take the best of brand marketing, understanding avatars and profiles and things, and merge out the best of performance marketing. And that's been a big part of our development and growth. Me too. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.